Episode 6, we here. This one might be interesting. I say that, I feel like I say that for every episode, that it might be interesting, but this one is titled Death Trap for Dependency, which I'm gonna just say off the gate, I agree with it. I haven't read the chapter, obviously, but I agree with it. When you depend on something and it don't go through the way you wanted it to, or you depend on, or you get into this mode where you're expecting something and it don't pan out the way it is, it becomes a death trap, because then you, once it don't go through, you gotta start fresh. That's my interpretation of just the title, Death Trap for Dependency. um I actually recorded episode 5 literally like 2 hours before I'm recording this, so I might drop them on the same day. Well, I actually am gonna drop this one hopefully today as well. It is the 31st, July 31st, so I'm trying to get this episode out the way. I might do another episode tomorrow. Friday, I had a photo shoot Friday. I actually got a freaking photo shoot Friday, which is dope. But yeah, let's get into this. Episode 6, Death Trap for Dependency. It starts off with relationships can be a death trap for dependency. Facts. We get into these modes where it's like our girl or our man. Well, I'm gonna just say for me, my girl. My girl will be like, I'll be dependent on them, and then, like I said, I don't know. Let's get into it, because I could go so many ways with this, but I want to see what the book is gonna say. I'm not talking about solely about romantic relationships. I'm talking about the whole shebang: professional, friendship, creative, and family. Facts. This is all facts. I agree. This one might be short because I might just agree with everything he said. I'm not anti-relationships. I'm just pro watch out for the developing dependencies in your relationships. Facts. When we put the key to our happiness in the pockets of others, we're now at their mercy. Not all folks are looking to exploit the power they have been granted, but shit still tends to happen. Facts. I don't know why I'm reading like that, but I agree. When you give somebody the power, it's not dangerous to give somebody the power for your happiness. It's dangerous when they know they have the power to your happiness, because then it's like they feel like they can do whatever and get away with anything, because they know they just have to snap and do something to get you back happy. So they might teeter-totter with your feelings, and it's very manipulative, which sucks. Yeah, I gotta stop. I said this in the first episode. I gotta stop saying but it's a buffer. But continue. The most important relationship we have is with ourselves. Simple. Facts. Facts. Like, if you're not content with yourself, then all your other relationships will fail in comparison. Simple. Putting the responsibility of your smiles on anyone else will often lead to the opposite, and you will have no one to blame except yourself. This anti-victim mentality isn't popular because people don't enjoy the onus, but probably the only way to ensure a long-standing, healthy ability to have meaningful relationships. Basically, what he's saying is take responsibility for your own happiness. Don't put that on anybody else, because not only are you putting a lot on another person, but you're also putting a lot on yourself, because then you dependent on that person to bring you your happiness, and if they fail, only thing you have to lean back on is yourself. But you haven't built that up within yourself yet. So I say build it up within yourself to where no matter what happens, your happiness won't be affected, and then you can start exploring how people can add to that. So no matter what, you're always going to be happy. You're always going to be content with your life, and then the people that you meet, the friends and co-workers, or whatever the case may be, relationships that you get in along the way, they will add to your happiness for the time being, because like I said before, happiness is a fleeting experience, and it comes and goes. So if you have somebody, or you find someone that can add to it as much as possible, then perfect. And at the times when they're not adding to it, they're not taken away from it either. So your baseline is not affected. It goes on to say, we've cheapened the word love to the point that it's common for someone to say they love you and then no longer mean it in a short time later. Oof, this is facts. And then it leaves you wondering, like, damn, did you ever really love me? But honestly, society these days, like, you can honestly have love for someone or love someone, and it can change like that with a snap. And it for some reason it doesn't take much, because everyone has, I wouldn't say everyone has a selfish mindset, but everyone feels like no one's in it. No one's in it. If I'm going based on like relationships, no one's really in it for the long haul. They're gonna get what they're gonna get out of it and keep it pushing. Like, no one wants to fight and make it work, or everyone feels like if this is not working right, like this temporary stress is enough for me to just keep it pushing. And sometimes it is worth the fight, and sometimes it's not. You have to have that discernment for within yourself and within that relationship to have honest conversations to know whether this little hiccup that you guys are having is gonna work. Is the little hiccup that you guys are having is worth just moving on, or is worth fighting for and understanding how to get back to where the love is more real and connected. And I also feel like I agree, because you shouldn't, not that you shouldn't, but you should let your feelings be more solid, I guess the word might be, before you express them. Because I've told people that I love them, and I didn't, it was a new feeling. So I feel like it was a very, very new feeling. So you can feel like you love somebody and it not be a solid feeling yet. It's like when you get a cup of water and you're like, all right, I want an icy, but I want ice. So I'm going to put this cup of water in the freezer. It's not ice yet. It's not solid yet. So you have to wait and you have to let it do what it's doing before you know what I mean, before you understand. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense to me how I'm trying to explain it. I'm having a hard time explaining it. But this doesn't just go for like intimate, like he said in the thing. It doesn't just go for intimate relationships or intimate relationships. It goes for relationships in general. Like, I think the word friend is used a little too loosely these days. You can't just call anybody your friend. Like, not everybody's your friend. Some people could be really cool and you guys can connect and, you know, enjoy each other's company or agree or have a dope conversation, but they're not your friend. Like, given the opportunity, if it's you or them, they would choose them. And a real friend is somebody that will put themselves on the line. Like, I have several friends, people that I actually call friends, and people that I actually call like family. And the people that know that they're not blood but they're family, they know like anything. It's not in my blood to ever try to backstab them or do something to make them feel less, or for me to benefit off of them. Like, it's always like love. Like, it can't. It's hard to explain, but I feel like yeah, you can't use love too loosely. Like, you can't tell somebody you love them too freely, and you can't just call anybody your friend, because people take advantage of that. You think they're your friend and they're really just out for self. So, and then once you do have a friend, they can easily boost up to being someone that you consider as family. Like, no matter how far apart you guys are, how often you guys talk or don't talk, they're always gonna be there. Like, it's people that I haven't talked to in maybe 2-3 months, and if I call them right now, it's like it's no issues, no drama. But let's continue with the text. We've cheapened the word love to the point that it's a common for someone to say they love you and then no longer mean it in a short time later. What is love really? Does a mother fall out of love with her child? Is the dynamic of any relationship change? What usually causes it? If the dynamic of any relationship change, what usually causes it? One answer is expectation. Ooh, me and my expectations. This one hit hard because my expectations. I have higher expectations for other people than I have for my. I have higher expectations for other people than I know that they can deliver on, and that has destroyed me in the past. Like, because I'll set my expectations and I'll be like, yo, this is what I expect you to do. This is what I need out of you, knowing that that person can't deliver on those expectations. And then when they don't, then it's like, I'm not necessarily hurt by it, but it's like, okay, now I have to live with the fact that, live with something that I knew was always going to happen. So the love we seek is generally riddled with conditions, but the fairy tale makes us feel that it's unconditional. Facts. I believe that there's no such thing as unconditional love. You can love someone wholeheartedly, but there is going to be a condition to that. In most cases, in majority of cases, there will be a condition to that, whether you're conscious of it or whether you're not conscious of it. Because there's certain things you can say you love somebody unconditionally, and then they do something crazy, and then you no longer can love that person. Like, can you love somebody after they literally stabbed you or like tried to kill you? Like, that's, I love you under the condition that you never try to kill me. That's a thing. Yeah. Respecting the fact that relationships are based on conditions may not be the most romantic, but is the most realistic. And I am very realistic. Sometimes I get away from my realistic ideologies or thoughts, but overall, I'm a very realistic person. I understand that people fall in and out of love, and 9 times out of 10 is just your turn. So enjoy it while you're in it. Try to keep the negative thoughts away as long as possible, and just enjoy it. That goes for everything. It goes for jobs, friendships, even like family, relationships, everything. It goes for everything. Like, nothing really lasts forever, and there are conditions to most things. So don't put it on yourself. Just enjoy it while you can, and don't harp on the fact that it's gonna end someday, because maybe it won't. But be realistic to the fact that it possibly can, and you move on. It won't be the first time, it probably won't be the last time. Like, we all go through things. I encourage you to be independent, not because I want you to be, but because you already are. We're born alone and die alone. And again, though it lacks romance, putting your relationship with yourself first dramatically enhances your ability to have a relationship with others. This is something that I've always known, but I've never actually implemented. Like, I've always had a great self-worth where I just knew where, like, I am that guy. Like, I'm undeniably that guy. Like, you can hate me, but no one's ever really like, it's hard. I just really have a great self-worth, and I have an understanding of myself that I'm adaptable, and I'm a very likable person. I can be very likable, but for some reason, what does it say? Me, even though I have a good self-worth and I have a good relationship with myself overall, that doesn't really translate into relationships for me. So that's something that I'm trying to understand about myself. But at the same time, I feel like it just is what it is. Maybe it's not something that I'm meant to be, like, in terms of being in a relationship. But at the same time, I believe that I'm content without being in a relationship. Like, I have a good relationship with myself. I'm perfectly fine being alone. But we all have, like he said, we all have these romantic ideologies, and we all like want the fairy tale, but it's not for everybody. So it is what it is. Dependency, he goes on to say, dependency isn't healthy, whether on a substance, an idea, or another human being. In this sense, wanting less results is having more. Again, I'm not an ideologist. In our daily lives, we have to depend on people for things to get done. If we acknowledge the dependency early, it cushions the blow dramatically if expectations aren't met. It also serves to motivate us to be in a position to further reduce the dependency we have the dependency we can survive without. The dependencies we can survive without. So yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. Like obviously we do depend on other people to get certain things done, especially in like the workplace. Like me, I've always been in like managerial positions, so I have to depend on my team to just get things done. Like bro, like you have to get this done. Like I depend on you to get it done. But at the same time, I understand that if they don't get it done, I'm just gonna have to get it done myself, and then there will be consequences for that person. And that doesn't necessarily go the same for relationships, because you can't. The consequence for not meeting my expectations in a relationship is not being in that relationship anymore, which is not necessarily a consequence. It's just life. So yeah, you have to understand your dependency, see it early, recognize it early, and find a way to get away from that, or understand the dependency and the expectations may fail at some point. So have an exit strategy in terms of not being hurt when the dependencies and expectations aren't met. So it goes on to say, I'm not advocating for a life of complete isolation and simplicity. I've always had a life rich of people and complexity, but at the same time, I do find peace in simplifying and cleaning out the clutter. Yes, yes. If you have, I wouldn't even call them friends, but you have people in your life that don't show up for you the way you want them to show up, or you have people in your life that, well, that's it. If you have people in your life that don't show up the way you want them to show up, but you find it that you always show up for them in the ways that they need, then you shouldn't associate with that person. And it goes the same way too. If you sit down and you realize like, yo, this person does a lot for me, and for some reason I just can't show up for them, then you should kind of distance yourself from that person too, because sometimes you are the problem, and realizing that you are the problem is tough. It's tough sometimes, because even when the person knows that you're the problem and they like still see good in you or want the best out of you, but you know you can't deliver on that, you kind of gotta give that person the freedom to find what they deserve, because you're not what they deserve if you're the one that can't show up for them, or you're the one that they depend on, but you know you can't live up to their expectations. So it goes both ways, realizing when you're the problem, realizing when there's a problem in your life. And it takes a very strong person to realize that they're the problem and fix it for someone else, even though they might suffer. Even though, like, if I'm the problem and I know someone else would be better without me in their life, but I benefit from that person being in my life, it would take a lot, not for me specifically, but it would take a lot for a person in that situation to kind of somewhat explain that to the person, and either find a way to where you can show up for them, or just get out of the situation to where you aren't hurting that person, or you aren't letting down their expectations as well. So yeah, it just works both ways. The last part of this, it says, I always know that you're not happy with yourself. Nothing can be compensated to fill that void, which is true. If you're not happy with yourself, there's nothing in this world that will compensate that. There's nothing. You can't say, oh, I hate my life, but let me just go get some ice cream. Okay, you might be happy while you're eating the ice cream, but once that ice cream is done, or once it melts, it's now you have to deal with your problems. So deal with your problems, and don't put it on someone else. Don't affect someone else, or don't be, because a lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot of people, but there's people in this world that they are suffering within themselves. So what they do is they try to make other people suffer. And that, once you recognize that in someone, and you can just see like, bro, this person is suffering, like life is suffering for this person, and you can see that they are trying to make other people suffer with them, because misery loves company. You got to get out of that. You can either try, it's two ways you can go about it, I believe. You can either try to be the light for them, or you can just get out of the darkness. It's just that simple. I think that's the end of this. This one actually ran kind of long. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. Don't depend. Limit your dependency. Understand your dependency and live and move accordingly to your dependencies. That's it. That's it. 100 life truths. I forgot to say. Let's see if we can learn something today. I feel like I learned a lot out of this read. So yeah, that's it. That was episode 6. I'm gonna see y'all. Hope y'all see me too.